How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Sam. Sam is finally back. We missed you, my friend, and we're excited to talk about Gleyber Torres today. And if you guys have been wondering about Gleyber Torres, I think it's kind of safe to say that he should not be traded at this point. He's one of our best offensive pieces, one of our more consistent bats. He has been awesome in the month of July. I know a lot of people wanted to move Gleyber Torres, but the Yankees are 2 games out of the wild card. Like, we are in the mix right now. Now, there's an argument to say that we are not a World Series caliber team. We'll see what general manager Brian Cashman does at the deadline to improve this roster. We've talked about Cody Bellinger, Brendan Donovan, Ohtani, Soto, Dylan Carlson. There's so many guys that we could go after, but we won't really know until this upcoming week who we actually get. But Gleyber Torres deserves to be a Yankee. He's playing his butt off, and I really respect the fact that he kind of looked all of that criticism in the face and said, nah, that's not me, and went out and performed well offensively. He's having a good season, a good month, and his defense has turned around lately too. You actually watch what he's been doing. He has a defensive run saved. He's actually above average slightly. So despite the fact he has 9 errors, his fielding percentage has dropped a little bit, had a couple of inconsistent weeks there, and a lot of people were kind of judging him for that. He's been way better recently, and I think that's worthwhile discussing. But, Sam, before we dive into Gleyber Torres, what he's bringing to this team, and if we think he should be extended rather than traded, how you do today, my friend?
I'm good. It's good to be back. I definitely haven't been here for a long time. I just had a lot of stuff going on. I was out there partying in Las Vegas, but I'm back to talk about some Yankees, so I'm really excited to be here with you today. The Yankees are not in a position to trade a player like Gleyber Torres. This has been one of your best offensive pieces over the past, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. He's been an integral part of this team for so long, and right now for a team that it's well documented how bad their offensive struggles have been. We've talked about it numerous times. It's bottom 20 in the league, and at this point, for you to let go of, probably your third or fourth, maybe even second most important bat in this team right now, it just doesn't seem feasible whatsoever. Unless you're getting a star-type return, unless you're getting a Shohei or a Juan Soto or one of those guys, there's just no reason to trade a player of Gleyber Torres' caliber. And it's interesting because I decided to go look back at the American League second baseman since 2022. And with Gleyber, there's an argument here that he has probably been one of the best, or maybe the best, American League second baseman over the past 2 years. So dating back to 2022, he's got a 114 WRC plus, which is second, just behind Marcus Semien. He's slugging 446, which is first. He's got a 186 ISO, which is first. He's walking at a 7.8% clip, which is third. He's got 40 home runs, which is tied for first with Marcus Semien, but he has 200 less plate appearances than Marcus Semien, and he's got a 4.3 F4 in the last 2 years. So realistically, there's a real argument there that among American League second basemen, Gleyber Torres has been one of those guys. And I think it's ludicrous at this point that we're looking to trade him. Unless it's a substantial haul, this guy should be on your team for the long term. He's kind of locked down that position, for the past couple of seasons. And at this point, it's not feasible whatsoever to trade one of your most important bats for a position, you want to trade for a starter or something like that, which is really just not an area that we need filled right now. So I think that Gleyber should stay on this team long term, and I think he's earned this extension, especially with this 13-game hit streak that he's on right now. There's no reason right now that you should let this guy go from your team. He's been an absolute stud.
I 100% agree. Now, looking at Gleyber Torres this season, my friends, this is kind of where he's been a lot more proficient. Now, he's hitting 264. That's better than his past 3 seasons combined, and he's getting on base at a 330 clip. So the on base rate could stand to improve a bit, but he's still one of our best hitters at a 113 WRC plus, has 16 homers, 43 RBIs. Now, the one thing that really stands out to me, Sam, is that his strikeout rate has gone from 22.6% last year to 14.2%. That's the lowest strikeout rate Gleyber Torres has ever had. He's a 1.5 WAR player right now. You'd like to see that increase a little bit, but the strikeout rate dropping that low indicates that his plate discipline is performing a lot better. He's seeing the ball better. He's putting the ball in play. Now, has it been resulting in better on-base percentages? Slightly, the 9.2% walk rate, getting on base at about 2% more than 2022. But look, the fact of the matter is that Gleyber Torres has been healthy this season. Knock on wood, he's played 99 games. Now, he get removed from yesterday's game due to the hip injury, but they're saying it's not really a big deal. I think it's more a day-to-day thing. They have a Subway Series starting today against the Mets, and then I think they have off afterward. Oh, sorry, the Mets Subway Series starts tomorrow, and they have those 2 days. So I think that right now the Yankees feel pretty good about where they are with Gleyber Torres, what he offers this team. But, if you're going to offer him an extension, what does that look like? Like, what does an extension for Gleyber Torres look like? How many years? He's 26 years old. Are you giving him 5-6 years on an extension? And how much are you willing to give him? Like $17-20 million per year. He's one of the better second basemen in the game, and I think that that's objectively true. You look at the numbers, you look at where he ranks, you look at his offensive production. He's starting to see the ball better. His strikeout rate's lowering. If he could just be a little bit more patient, put the ball in play a little bit more efficiently, I think he'll be a very good player for a very long time. I think he kind of is just missing that one element. The strikeout rate is down, but you like to see him just hit the ball, put the ball in play positively a little bit more. He puts the ball in play, but he pops out a lot. He gets frustrated at times, and it hurts him a bit. But in the month of July, guys, this guy is completely dominating, and I think that it's worthwhile discussing his short-term success right now, in the sense that he's hitting 325 to 357 OBP, 532 slugging rate, and an 890 OPS. He has 3 homers in his last 5 games with 5 RBIs. He's only struck out 2 times in that range. Now June wasn't so good, 198 batting average with 270 OBP, but everybody struggled in June, the entire team. I think he just kind of caught in the crossfires. But those July numbers really, really improved his season averages. So you love to see that. He's been so good in this last series sweep over the Royals. But looking at his value now, like could you make the argument that you see Gleyber Torres as like, he's playing so well right now, you would like to leverage that in a trade? Or do you think that it really depends on if the Yankees even want to sell? I don't think that they are looking to sell right now. They're 2 games behind the wild card spot right now. I think they're still very much in the buying scenario.
Yeah, so it's interesting when you talk about, this guy's value, because with Gleyber Torres' success, this isn't a player that, it's abnormal for him to be this good, because he's gone through these type of stretches pretty frequently, and he's one of the streakier players that I've really ever seen on the Yankees, just because he can go through a run like this, and then like you mentioned with June, he was pretty bad. So he's a very streaky player, but I think that at this point, it's not a player that's just randomly on a hot streak that you're gonna capitalize on his trade value at the trade deadline. I think it's really, a matter of this guy's been a consistent performer for the past couple of seasons, and that, you want him on your team long term because he's just been one of those guys for such a long time. And when you kind of look at, what his value would be on an open market, I just ran through a bunch of the American League second basemen. You can look at those numbers and what those, the second basemen around him are getting paid. I know Marcus Semien signed that 7-year, 170 with the Rangers. And then Andres Jimenez, who's another guy that's on that list and is really very similar with those numbers around Gleyber Torres. I know he hasn't been great this year, but he just signed an extension in the offseason. I think he got 10 years, 100. So I think if you, fall kind of right in between there, at a 17, $18 million AAV, over the next 5 or 6 years, I think that would work, and I think that Gleyber would want to stay with the Yankees long term. I know he's been floated in trade talks for such a long time, but I feel like he really likes the clubhouse. He's, it seems like everybody on the team really likes him, and he's had a lot of success in New York. So I think that, without a doubt, this is a guy that you want to keep long term, and I think that at $17 million a year, I don't hate that price at all for a player like Gleyber Torres. Again, who's been one of your most consistent performers for such a long time. So, and, at the trade deadline, I'm not capitalizing on what Gleyber Torres has done during the month of July, because I feel like other teams around the league would also look at his production in July and be like, okay, well, he can go through spurts like this, and then he can go through a spurt like June. And, the numbers always end up evening out at the end of the day, and he becomes an above average second baseman at the very least. So I just don't think that the Yankees are going to try to look to capitalize on that whatsoever. And I think that if you can get him, at that $17, $18 million a year range, I think he's 100% worthwhile to be extended, because he's worth it in my eyes for this team.
100%. I mean, look, right now I think he's probably leaning towards the extension route rather than the selling route. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing to want to pay your own players, guys. It's a good thing to have players that come into their own and showcase more consistency. He's been a lot more consistent this year than in the past. And I think that's something we forget. the Yankees just give guys away when they're not playing well. They don't have many homegrown talents. And look, Gleyber Torres is from the Cubs. He's not really a homegrown talent, but he's been something we've been developing for 5 years now. Like, I'd say he's one of our more homegrown talents, considering the lack of homegrown talents that we have on this roster. I really like Gleyber Torres. I think that he looks adversity in the eyes and he says, I don't want to go down that route. I don't want to be the guy that couldn't play in Yankee Stadium. I don't want to be the guy that failed to play in the Bronx and be a key contributor for one of the best franchises in the sport. I want to actually show up and make my value known and make my production heard, and I respect that from him. He's also a great dude. He's a great guy to have in the clubhouse, a great guy to have in the locker room. And ultimately, you can't put a value on those intangible traits sometimes. So right now, I'm 100% in the boat of extending Gleyber Torres and not trading him, because I think that replacing him will be a lot more difficult than it seems. Like, you're going to put Oswald Peraza at second base. You're going to put Oswald Peraza there and hope that he produces offensively like Gleyber Torres. I mean, you could try, but it's a big what if. There's no guarantees. Oswald Peraza is probably more of a trade asset right now, given his youth and service time, than Gleyber Torres. And the fact that they kept him in AAA for so long, I definitely kind of feel as though they're going to go in that direction. They're going to try and sell on Peraza now while, his value is still at its peak, instead of trying to move Torres 1 year before he hits free agency. I do believe he has another year of arbitration, if I'm not mistaken. So they have one more year. Yeah, so he has 2024 in arbitration. So he won't get paid substantially, and then he'll be a free agent in 2025. So right now, you're in a really good spot with Torres. No need to move him. He's one of your best hitters. He's turned it around defensively over the last couple weeks. He's 26 years old. Keep letting him get better. Keep letting him become a contributor here. And he's also been a pretty solid postseason player for us, which I think is a variable that some people forget about. But I think, ultimately, for those reasons, I'm buying on Torres right now. I'm not selling on Torres. And guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives below in the YouTube comments as always. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.